Hey, everybody. When Steve says that you are able to train, he is not joking. You are actually able to do it yourself. Years ago, Steve would travel all across the country specifically to teach people how to train their mules and donkeys. Well, something happened, and all of a sudden, Steve was not able to travel. He had hip surgery, and he wasn't able to go across the country. And what we discovered, even over the internet, through these Ask Steve programs, folks were able to ask their questions, get answers, and get out there, gain the trust of their animals, and get results. And today, we are taking you into the world of David Pengelly, one man who has done exactly what Steve has said, and he has experienced all of the benefits that have come with it. So we're really excited to bring you today's program. Like I said, this is Steve, myself, and David Pengelly, and I want this to be an inspiration to you to know that you can do this. Stick it out, work hard, ask questions, and the reward will come. So enjoy this program today. We will see you soon. Bye-bye. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another day. It's time to talk mules and donkeys and a little bit of cruising. We'll get to that in a few minutes. My name is Dave. This is Steve Edwards. And Steve, you are not by yourself today. Why don't you tell us who you got with you today, my friend?
I got the David Pengelly, maker of Ask, Tell, and Demand Come Along Coffee.
That's the Come Along Coffee that's been selling like, well, hot coffee beans off of the Mule Ranch website, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome. So where are you guys at right now?
Manchester, Georgia. We're at his home in Manchester, Georgia.
Oh, I should have known better. Looking at that shirt and that hat right there, it's a dead giveaway for where you are.
Yep, I'm now official member of the Manchester Fire Department. I got my shirt. There it is right here. Yeah, I got my hat, and we got pictures to prove it.
You're all fixed up. Well, you know what? I'll get to those pictures in a second. It was about 3 years ago. A common friend, a mutual friend that Steve and I had. As a matter of fact, the friend who introduced Steve and I together. We hadn't seen each other for a while, and Michael and I were hanging out, and he goes, "You still working with Steve?" I said, "Yes, I am." I said, "Check this out." And the first video he saw was Steve. It was a thumbnail of Steve sitting there in full firefighter outfit. He had no idea. He goes, "What is Steve doing in a firefighter outfit?" I said, "You have missed quite a bit, my friend. You've been gone a little bit too long." I said, "Steve is a volunteer firefighter now, and he is volunteering for the Queen Valley Fire Department." And so often during our broadcasts now, you'll hear the go off. And so, Steve, you actually got to meet the fire department there in Manchester. How about it?
Yes, this is one of the crews. And if you look to my right, that tallest guy, he is the fire chief. He is 7'2".
Okay, you could have had fun with that right there. You could have said he's 9 feet tall, and that makes me 7 foot.
Well, the guy next to me, to my right, between the two of us, he's a captain, and he's 6'2". You know, and then it goes on from there. Now they're trying to find out if he can be in the Guinness Book of Records for the tallest firefighter.
I think he might have it.
Yeah.
That's pretty tall right there. Hey, that's a great question for our friends who are watching today. Is anybody watching in the Guinness Book of World Records, or are you related to someone who is? Put that in the comment section. Real quick, I got ahead of myself. I do want to welcome you here. Every week, Steve and I get together to talk mules and donkeys. This week is no exception. Today, we're talking about mules with our friend David Pengelly. But if this is your first time ever hanging out for us, know that usually it's just me and Steve taking live questions. Well, with Steve being in Georgia, we decided rather than doing nothing, we'd record something ahead of time. So right now, you are actually watching something that we recorded previously before Steve and David traveled to the American Mule and Bluegrass Festival in Shelby, Tennessee. So by the time you see that, that will have gone by. It will have been a huge success. There would have been, all sorts of amazing things that happened, but we're going to make amazing things happen today. And really, there's only 3 things you need to do to be a part. Number 1, share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like today. That's how we get to know you. That's how we get to know where you're at in the world, get a little taste of what it's like to be in your city, in your town. and just know that you're here. Steve and I, we can talk whenever we want. We can talk with David whenever we want. But right now, we want to know that you're here. So share your name, where you're watching from, what the weather is like. The second thing is that you ask any and every mule or donkey question that you have. And you might say, well, you guys aren't live today. You can't answer it. Wrong answer. We're going to answer it. Next time Steve and I do a live Q&A, I'm going to be going back through all of the questions that have come in today and previous weeks, and we're going to be answering those. So any and every mule or donkey question, go ahead, put it in the chat section. We'll get to that, and we'll get you the answer you need, because there's nothing more that we enjoy than seeing you get out there, gain the trust of your animals, and get results when you train. You shouldn't be frustrated. You should be flourishing, and we want you to experience that. Third thing is that you share the broadcast, and oh boy, this is going to be a good one to share, because Steve, people got the idea, and I don't know where they got this, but they got the idea that they need to be 20 years equine pro. They need to be out there apprenticing left and right. They need to be working with mules every day. They need to be working with donkeys every day if they're going to train. They think that just because they went out and they got themselves a new animal that they don't have any way to train. And well, that's just not the case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And guys like David here, it's part of your DNA. There's something about going out there, smelling that mule, touching that mule, saddling that mule up, and going for a ride. And Dave, he showed me pictures of a couple of years ago when him was a kid riding a pony and the different and riding this donkey. Now,
Yeah.
Dave, tell us about your meetup with the donkey.
Well, I had always wanted a donkey. And my dad, we lived on a very big farm, but my dad was very frugal. He would not buy me a donkey. But there was a farmer down the road who had one, so we went and borrowed the donkey. Now, that donkey, I just love that donkey. I didn't have a saddle, so I rode the donkey bareback. And as we all know, donkeys built a little downhill. And this donkey, he would let me ride him for about 30 feet, and then he would just twitch, and I would go on the ground. And then we go another 50 feet, and I would go on the ground. And this went on for a long time. I still love that donkey, but all of a sudden I stopped riding it. And my dad one day said, if you're not going to ride that donkey, we're going to take it back to the owner. And I said, okay, I'm not going to ride him anymore. And so we had trailers and trucks and all kinds of ways to move that donkey. But my dad said, you wanted him, you ride him home. So it was about 2 miles or more down to where I got that donkey from. And my dad would not truck it or trailer it down there. So my mother followed me in the car, and I rode that donkey all the way back to where I got him from. Well, that was probably kind of a long ride, because we'd go about 100 feet and he'd throw me off. And then I get back on, we go another 100 feet and he'd throw me off. And we did that for, I don't know how long it took to get back to that guy's farm, but that was the end of my donkey ride.
That reminds me, so the way that happens out here for the city folk, where we don't got the livestock, is they want you to learn how to drive a stick shift. So the parents will just drop off the stick shift and they'll say, figure out how to get your way home. About every 50 seconds or not, you stall out, and then you stall out, and then you stall out. And at the end, though, it's a little bit different, because you're a teenager. You really want a car so you can get around. So you figure out a way. But that's great. And so that was your first experience with a donkey those years ago.
Right. But I never lost my love for donkeys or mules.
Well,
And that happened, Dave.
yeah.
You know how all the times that he got bounced off and everything, he didn't quit. It's his DNA, and that's what so many mule and donkey owners have. I look how many people we've talked to that have never owned a donkey or mule before, and they hear all these stories. Well, now here's a guy here that's flat been there, done that, and the donkey ride would have made a lot of people quit, but he stuck with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what folks have started to, we've talked, Steve, you and I, about how, back in the 90s, early 2000s, you would be traveling all across the country doing clinics and expos, and some would be larger than others, and some would be more well attended than others, but it was all good stuff, and it was all making a difference for people. And then all of a sudden, we start utilizing the internet, and boom, not only are we getting in front of more people, meaning more education, more people learning, more people discovering how to do this, but we're finding that more and more people from all sorts of different backgrounds, they're able to actually do the training themselves, especially when they've got it just in their DNA, when that equine love is there, that passion for the animal is there. You're capable of doing a lot of things, not to mention when you got a come along rope in your hand. But that's really what we hope that you're able to take away from today's conversation is that, hey, no matter where you are right now and where you are at in your mule or donkey journey, you can do this. There's tools out there. There's education out there. Folks ask Steve all the time, hey, I'm thinking about getting my first mule. What should I be doing? Education, education, education. So good news is you're in the right place. So that was your first experience with a donkey, David. How many years was it until you got back in the saddle, so to speak?
Well, we had a big farm, so I always had horses to ride, ponies and horses. And we also, because we lived on a big dairy farm, we showed cattle all over New York State, upstate New York and western New York. Back then, they might still, every county in western New York had a county fair. And we would travel the fair circuit with our string of show cattle pretty much all summer long. And one time, one county fair, we were showing cattle there, and there was a fella came in for one of the grandstand shows. They all had these big shows at the most of those old county fairs had racetracks, and they would have stock car races and trotting races and all this. And a fellow showed up for one of those shows one night by the name of Jerry Lippiot from Salem, Ohio. It was Jerry Lippiot and his racing mules, and he had a school bus with 6 mules on it. And all the sulkies were on the top of the school bus, and he would go from fair to fair with this grandstand show. Well, he came in a few days early to this county fair where I was showing our cattle. And so I went, still love mules and love long ears. So I would go down to the stables every morning and just chat with him. And then he would hook some of these mules up and drive them around the racetrack. And after a few days, he let me actually drive one of these racing mules, the sulky, around the track. And once again, there's my love for mules. And it came show day for his show in front of the grandstand. And one of the dignitaries from town was on one of the sulkies. And anyway, they had a little bit of an accident, and the dignitary got pitched off onto the track, and the mule took off and ran around the track with the other mules. And so anyway, they collected everybody. And then Jerry said to me, because I was just a kid then, I was probably 11, 12 years old, he says, get in that sulky and show people that it's not dangerous. I think he didn't want to pay the lawsuit or whatever. But anyway, so I jump in the sulky. Now I'm having a great time. And we went this next heat. I raced the mule. Well, that stuck with me all these years. I just love those racing mules. As a matter of fact, I want to. Some of his grandkids are still alive. I want to get with him and talk to him more about that. See if I can get some of those pictures of him with his mules on the school bus, and his racing experience is really cool. That was the next time around.
How did we first make the connection with you? Was it through the live stream, or was it in a clinic or an expo, or does it go back further than that?
I'm not really sure. I really don't know. We went. Our veterinarian. Let me think. Our veterinarian that we had a large farm. He had a lot of horses. He used to drop off at our farm because he was a trader and things, and he liked mules. And a friend of ours brought a mule in from New Mexico. A lot of horse guys rode her, and our veterinarian actually told me about this mule, and that was my next mule. And I'm not sure exactly how Steve and I connected. Whether I heard you on this or through the grapevine, I don't know.
But anyway, we got connected. He might have called me and ask me a question like so many of our other clients,
I did.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, I got the phone number and did call, and we started chatting about. Well, actually, that was my. I had bought. I had a mule for 20 years. And Steve and I have talked about this, and I didn't treat her like a mule. Sadly, I treated her like a horse, and she was so good. I didn't know what I had. And so when she passed away, I was looking for another mule. And I think that's how I made the connection with you, because I found one on the internet and I called you up and I said, would you take a look at this mule and see if it's what I need? And once again, he said, I'm not going to tell you whether yay or nay, but it looks decent. So I and I got lucky. I got a really, really fine mule, but it was just by chance.
Let's go back to what you said. You said that you had a mule, but you treated her like a horse. That might be confusing for some folks listening. Tell us a little bit about what you mean by that.
Well, sadly, I wish I had her back and knew what I know now because of Steve. Because I'd had horses my whole life, I had the wrong saddle. I had the wrong bit. Let me see. I did everything wrong because I rode her like a horse. She put up with me. She was amazing. We team penned with her. You could shoot off of her, rope off of her. We took her in parades. But it was just because she was so good, and it had nothing to do with me. But I rode her like a horse. I rode her with a saddle with just one cinch, a Western saddle. I had just who knows what kind of a bit I was using, and no britching. I just did everything wrong, and she put up with me for 20 years.
Is that the one picture you show me of the mule with all the fat pockets and everything?
No, that was the last. That was the one I gave away.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that was no.
So you seem like a nice guy. You seem like someone who would treat his animals right. So you didn't have probably much idea that you were doing things.
I just used her, but I just did everything. Well, I kind of did, I guess, unknowingly, but I never hurt her.
You were kind to her according to what you knew. What was it that, of course, maybe it was when you first talked with Steve, but what was it that kind of opened your eyes to be like, well, I had this amazing animal and I did it this way. Why would I do it any different in the future?
Well, somewhere along the way when I started, Steve has made me feel real bad because now I realize all the bad things I did back then. No, I think about it. I feel so bad about that girl, and actually, I don't know. I guess it was when I was just getting my next mule, because that particular mule, finally she got so old we had to put her down. So I was looking for another one, and that's when I guess I made the connection with Steve, called him up, and I said, I found this mule on the internet. What do you think about her? And he said, well, it looks to be, a good mule, but he wasn't going to make a commitment. He didn't say buy her or don't buy her.
Yeah.
And but I went and did.
So here's the thing, Dave. How old was that mule when you bought her?
She was.
You had her
9
for 20 years.
Yeah, no, this one only had 3 years.
The one you had for 20 years.
Oh, the one I had she was 6 when I bought her.
6 when you bought her.
Yeah,
so
in New Mexico.
And you had her for 20 years.
Right.
So she died at 26.
Yeah.
So what was her background like at 6 years old?
She was a quarter mule. Came out of New Mexico. She was 4'2" and 14'2", and she was 6 years old, and she was just trained very, very well. She neck reined, backed up, side pass. She did everything. She was a real good ranch mule.
Yeah.
When I got her, and the thing of it was, the only reason I got her was one of my horse people. There was a whole clan of them here. Had wanted a mule, so they somehow got a hold of her. All the horse guys rode her, but she wasn't quite fast enough, and mules were kind of they're horse guys, and so they didn't really want her. And I saw her, and I had to have her. So this is going back a long time ago, but they were asking $1,500 for her. And should I tell them the story with Susanna?
Yeah,
So 1,500. So I mentioned this to my wife. We had horses now. We had a horse farm. And I told my wife, I said, $1,500. She said, this is insane. I said, no, but I really want this mule. And I had ridden her a few times and at other folks' houses. And so we finally got her home, and I had her tied up, and I went saddle on her, and everything was going really well. My wife Suzanne was looking out her office window at me, and I got in the saddle, and the mule immediately threw me on the ground. And so my wife is freaking out, and she's about ready to take that mule back to where we got her from. But that was the beginning of a long, wonderful relationship, though. That never happened again. We got along great ever since that moment. But it could have been the end of my mule riding right there if my wife had anything to say about it.
So here's one of the keys, Dave. You hear this mule with this super disposition. That's the number one thing I tell everybody. Look for disposition. But what did he have that first 3 to 4 years? Was working on a ranch, working on cattle, having a job, and building a foundation. Like he said, she had a good neck rein on her, so that cowboy had a pretty good hand. She side passed and turned on forehand, but she worked cows. It wasn't like a lot of people now today. They go to an auction, they buy a mule, and traders and sellers and this sort of thing. Then it comes back and they tell everybody how wonderful this mule is. And people don't know what to look for. Well, Dave happened to have, was brought up around horses and stuff. They had horse farms. He knew what it was like to ride. And when I say ride, he was riding. He wasn't just sitting. So he knew what side pass was. He knew what turn on the forehand was. And therein lies, the guy had some experience. David had some experience when it come down to what they should do. But then when it comes to the mule, he didn't know what to do. You're talking 20 years ago, things were just starting to roll, and mules starting to become popular. But it happened to be, just like you just heard him say, the mule pitched him, and he still kept that mule for 20 years, So when you got a love for these things, Dave, it's something, it's powerful. And like right now, David tells me, he says, find me a mule, Steve, find me a mule. And I've been kind of looking, and you know how I am, a bit picky about that stuff. But him being 6 foot tall, he needs something at least 14.2, and that makes for a nice riding saddle mule. But anyway, the thing I want to point out here is this mule had a disposition that no matter what you did incorrect, he still stayed good. That's a 1 in 1,000 mule. You're just, a lot of people would say that mule was well trained. Well, yes, he was well trained, but making mistakes can cost you. And some mules would overlook it, which is what his mule does. Even though he made some of the mistakes and stuff, he made it through. Saddling in the wrong place, he didn't cripple a mule. He made it through. Overfeeding, he made it through. Did you shoe the mule?
Never did.
Never did shoe the mule. So everything that he says he did everything wrong, and that's kind of true, yes. But he got through it somehow or another. But I want you to understand, he's 1 in 1,000. I've got a lot more stories that I can tell you of that he got pitched off. The mule we've heard it a lot. Broken down scapulas. We got bad feet. A lot of different things. But he happened to hit one just right for 20 years. And like David says, he didn't know what he had, Now, here's the other thing about this, Dave, okay? It wasn't like David was in the saddle on his horse farm a lot. He actually had a job just like everybody else. You got to have a job to support your habits. And his mule habit, he had a job. What kind of work was you doing, David?
I'm an entertainer. I'm a singer, humorist, and I've done a lot of, been in music since I did radio and television when I was 15 and never looked back, and it just carried on with music and show business ever since. And so did 40 years of cruise ship work, and here we are.
Okay, now y'all hear that? 40 years of cruise ship work. One more thing saying 1 in 1,000 mules, and could even be 1 in 5,000 mules, because he would be gone for
About a week or two every month. So I was on about half the time I was home.
Yeah.
So.
So it wasn't like he was riding a mule all the time. It wasn't like he could spend the time with the mule and really get to know him, but he just happened to hit this mule that had a disposition that everybody wants. The mule had some of the right training that everybody wants, and he, it wasn't like he was a trainer and he could ride, sure, but he didn't realize, like, the saddle going forward, Did you have a breeching at all?
No. Just one cinch, basically. Didn't even have a rear set.
You hear that, folks?
Yeah.
No, I mean, and
I team penned with her and roped with her. I did everything wrong.
Yeah.
But she did have the disposition. I didn't know what I had.
Yeah. And the other thing too, health wise, this mule never broke down in the front end, and so many people we have, Dave, we've talked to the people with busted down scapulas and broke down in the feet and this sort of thing. I've got one client we'll be talking to in the future that he got to where his mule could hardly walk until he started getting shoeing and get some corrective shoeing. So yeah, Dave had, a 1 in 3,000, 5,000 even, a rare, but then he started going on the internet and learning things and going from there.
So let me ask you this then. You connect with Steve. He starts making you feel real bad. You start thinking, okay, see how I work that in there. Starts making you feel bad. You start making some changes. What was that process like for you? Were you seeing, like, did it become apparent to you pretty quick? Like, oh my gosh, this is a difference maker, or did it take a little bit of time?
Well, it takes a little time because you don't learn everything Steve has to offer overnight. I mean, it's a process. That's the fun of it, really, because you do a little bit today, learn a little bit tomorrow, make a mistake, go back and correct it. I do remember, though, I had another mule before. Well, after the one we've just talked about, before we got into the next mule, I bought it from a mule guy. I just showed Steve a video of it. Anyway, before I bought it, had to have this mule because the conformation, the color, and everything were just perfect, and I just love this mule. Got it home, and I think it was the first time after that first ride on that mule that I called Steve, because I put a smooth snaffle bit on this mule. Once again, had a Western saddle with a single cinch. Took it out for a ride because I had to ride. This is green mule, but I had to ride it immediately. Took it out, and as we were going across this field at full tilt, I had that mule's nose on my knee, pulling his head around, and the thing is going 30 miles an hour straight ahead with I'm looking at his eyeball on my knee, and we went under a tree. And so anyway, that was the first day, but I said, we'll correct this. So the next day I took him out in a big 60-acre field and thought we'd walk around a little bit and get this thing straightened out. And I was telling Steve, the mule was just a regular sized quarter mule, but as I'm riding it, the mule kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And then all of a sudden I feel this mule under my seat about ready to explode. He's like a time bomb. And this mule was so green. So I took the mule back, and luckily I didn't get killed on that mule, and sent it back to the guy that I got it from. So anyway, that was mule 2. And that's when I think I called Steve, and then we started conversing and talking about different things. And I told him about that experience, and he just laughed at me. And I didn't think it was very funny. But anyway, that's
Steve?
a true story.
No.
He could have killed me, but.
Been in that position many times. Yeah. Been there, done that.
Yeah. Man, there was something that you said. Shoot. I had a follow-up question. Maybe it'll come back to me. So one of the things, one of the myths that I'm hoping, uh, listening right now, folks, you're hearing, is that nobody comes at this thing, not even Steve, comes at this thing with the ability to get these animals to bend to their will right away. Yes, there's experience. Yes, there's the ability to look at signs. Yes, there are tools that you can use. But, take it from me, I've been to a bunch of Steve's clinics over the last 10 years. You'll see plenty of time. Matter of fact, do a search on YouTube. Look for trouble picking up the rear foot, and you're going to see 12 minutes straight of an animal not doing what Steve is telling him to do. So nobody comes at this thing with, oh, I've got it all figured. Well, at least nobody smart comes at it with, I've got it all figured out. I know everything. I've seen everything. And this is what you have to do. No, there's a direction that you take things and you apply. I like what you said, David. No, you see it over time, because there's no way that you could learn it and apply it all within, 1 week or 1 month, much less a year. It takes time to build upon it. And I'm thinking right now, I think of Dave O'Brien, Steve, who's got a mule that he's been doing lots of incremental work with. And it's Dave who's been watching our stuff for, several years now. And he's still calling up saying, hey, here's what I'm experiencing. What do you think? So you're right. It does take time. And really, the big thing is that a lot of folks who are doing this and finding success, it's not their main thing. And of course, you said you spent years on a cruise ship, which I was going to ask you. Spending time on that cruise ship, where was your did you wind up developing a favorite place where you got to go, and when you had your off days or whatnot, you liked to port?
Well, my situation is kind of unique. As I would fly into a ship. I worked all over the world. So as far as finding a favorite place, I really don't know. I think being home is my favorite place. Yeah.
Yeah.
But my situation, I would fly in. I only did one show a week, and I would fly in, do the show, and then have to stay a few days maybe. But then I would fly home, and that was kind of my routine. That's what I did. But I want to go back to that mule, just because this is something that we talk about almost every week. I let that was the one that ran away with me basically was a really, really nice mule. And I probably could have had that mule forever, but I did no groundwork. I knew nothing about groundwork. And my thoughts back then was kind of like horse thinking. I got it to where I could put a saddle on it, a bit in its mouth, and if you can get in the saddle, you're pretty much on your way. Whereas if I'd have taken that mule, and I feel badly about this too, because that mule really was a good mule, but he had no real groundwork. And had I met Steve before, and we talked about this, it probably I could have saved that mule.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the groundwork. Groundwork, groundwork, groundwork. I'm a big believer. I mean, that's all there is to it.
We talk about it a lot. A lot of folks will say, oh, I got this, well, we call him a butt mule, but I got this mule coming. He's done there. He's done this. He's been here. He's been there. But, so there's some sort of a problem. And almost always we come back to, look, I don't care where you got this animal. I don't care what they said the animal was able to do. You want to take that animal and immediately start working on groundwork, building a foundation. It's going to be about 6 months. And here's the thing. Maybe that animal does have a good foundation. You'll be able to get your 3s. You'll be able to get your 6, 9, and 12. You'll be able to get those in, and you'll be able to move on and progress. But that groundwork, you never graduate groundwork. We've got Steve who, will bust out a come-along rope and do some groundwork right in the middle of a session because the animal's not listening. And so you get that come-along rope, you reestablish, hey, you're going to listen to me, ask, tell, demand, and then you're able to move into some of the other things that you're doing, but you're going back to the groundwork. Yeah, that's incredible. So now, so they're flying you in. They know they've got a big shot now. They said, we're going to fly this guy in here, jet travel only. And so now you actually, what did you say before? You got a first love of your life, second love of your life, and what did you say?
Jesus Christ, number 1. My wife, number 2. And I guess music and mules. And kind of there's a balance there. I don't know. Hot rod cars.
Hot rod cars. Now he loves hot rod cars. He's got a 32 Ford that is just gorgeous. I got to drive, and the other one was a 35 Ford. I got to drive, and which was great. I went down to his coffee shop. Okay, and we can keep on talking mules, but what I want you guys to get an idea of there he is in Praise. There's the coffee shop.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick. What's this right here?
That picture is the mule that I didn't know what I had. That's my first mule.
Okay.
That's Marcella. And that's a parade. And what we're doing there is we're handing out coffee. I was the Juan Valdez of our little town of Sonoy, Georgia at the time where I lived. And there's poor Marcella being the pack mule carrying the coffee. That picture is drying coffee, actually, after it's been harvested.
And then this one right here, this is you in your element today, right?
Well, that's our coffee shop now. We've been through a couple of them, but this is where Steve and Susan and I were the other day. That's my coffee roaster.
Yeah. So let's talk a little about this, Steve. Get into it there.
Yeah, this is the key right here, folks. Until I started drinking coffee that was only about 3 days from roasting, I mean, I've always enjoyed coffee, but now that I've had coffee that's been freshly roasted and it's fresh, listen, most of the stuff on the shelf today is
pretty old,
yes. But the thing with Dave's coffee is David roasts his coffee, and as you can see, all the big buckets in the background, there's coffee there from Peru,
we import from about 15 different countries, and the green beans, and then we roast them. And the whole freshness thing is about when you have coffee in the green state, green beans, you can keep for quite a long time. But the minute you roast coffee, you have a freshness window of 10 days. And it doesn't go bad after the 10 days, but you lose that flavor, the big bang for the buck in that 10-day window. So what we do, we ship coffee all over the United States. And so what we do is we roast to order. So we roast and ship out the same day. And we're fanatical about fresh coffee.
So Dave, we got some pictures of coffee beans there. I sent you. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, that's the degrees of roast as you go. At the top left corner there, that will be your green bean. And then progressively, as it gets darker, that's the roasting process. And so say the second line or the first part of the third line there of beans, that will be your medium roast. And then you'll progressively get darker until you get into the dark roast or French roast, as they call it, or city roast. They got a lot of names for it, but that's kind of
that's the man roast.
Yeah, the man is the bottom right.
That is.
Ass coffee will be about your middle of the second line. The tell will be the middle of the third, and then the right hand corner for the demand.
So what's your preference then? If you're picking out what you like to drink, what's your preference?
I change all the time. My palate changes. Some mornings I'll wake up and I'll ask for something milder, lighter. It'd be like ask, and then some days it's tell, and then some days it's demand. It's all over the place. I like a variety.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Too, but I want to be woke up.
There's a point that a lot of people don't understand. The coffee that is the lightest roasted, the light roast coffee has more caffeine in it than the dark roast coffee, because as you roast coffee, you actually roast out some of that caffeine. It's a misconception. Most people think when I see that coffee, the oil and the darkness and all that, I want that big bang of the buck, and that's going to go right into the bloodstream, and it's going to wake me up. Well, actually, the light roast coffee is what's going to really wake you up.
So right here, this is what this right here at the top, this is what you would recommend for me, a father of 3 boys, all under the age of 12.
Yeah, you need it very close to the beginning of the second line.
Should I just eat them raw? Is that what I should be doing?
Yeah, you probably should to get it into your system faster. I would.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. My boys. So right now they are 6, 9, and 11. And they look at me and my wife, and we've been married 17 years now. And they say, "Why do you drink so much coffee?" And I said, "I never used to drink coffee." "You didn't?" I said, "No." I said, "But then you were born. And now
Good answer.
you were born. And now it's 1 cup of coffee for every child that bears my last name." And so that's 3 normally. But if I'm feeling particularly low on energy, then I'll go to my nieces and my nephews and I'll load up that way. So real fun. So you said that right now you're in the middle of animals. I know that it's been tough for you. You've actually you've mentioned both animals that they passed away, but I think you had said one of them was from sarcoids and another one from cancer, and that's gotta be real difficult. I know we have some folks who have watched recently who they've had their mules pass away, and like you're saying, Steve, when it's in the DNA, that's quite the process. Would you be okay just sharing a little bit about that process and maybe just your perspective and what that's meant to you and other people who are watching?
Which that
About your process, like losing them with the death
well,
and
yeah,
cancer.
if you're an animal person, that's you enjoy them. It's a journey, but sooner or later it comes to an end. We've had horses for a long, long time, and over the years had to put them down, or they got old, or whatever. So I mean, it's never any easier. It's always the same. But if you love them, you jump back in, and I'm ready to jump back in. I mean, it's just I don't know. My mule, it was kind of unique because she died of a cancer that we took her to Auburn, Alabama University, and they have a fantastic veterinary school there. And they after they put her down, they went through her. The cancer was a rare cancer, and it was a cancer. I can't remember the name of it, but some dogs get this kind of a cancer, and very, very few equines. So we left her there so they could actually teach students about that cancer. So it was sad, but it was a good thing too, because the students will be able to learn from that experience. And so anyway, that's that. But but I love mules. I'm ready to go back.
See, here's the thing, Dave. You see, he's got hot rods. He's got his life in Christ, and his wife, and they just moved. They sold their farm and they moved to Manchester and started a new business there, a new coffee shop. Plus, they're very involved in the Manchester area. They want to be part of the community, and they're very, very involved. But he still has this heart, and this is a true mule person. Okay, a true mule person. Even though they got all that going on, that mule still brings them back to life. I mean, to a quiet life. There's something about to touch one, how it changes you.
It really
I mean,
does.
you can touch a hot rod and hit that accelerator, and it's exhilarating. And it's exhilarating when one takes off and you're trying to hold its head over here. It is.
Yes.
But there's something about leaving the life as we know it every day, the everyday life, going to work, families, and all this sort of thing, and taking that mule and put a saddle on it and put the bridle on it and climb on and just go off and ride. It's a whole nother world.
It really is. There's nothing like it.
And this man is one thing I want to point out is he's experienced life fullest. I mean, going on cruises, been all over the world, being on airplanes, lots of excitement, him and his wife been married 31 years.
Yeah, we got to get that number right.
We got to get that one right. I've got 31 years, So, you got all these things that he's involved in, Dave, and then, but that mule, there's something about the quietness of of saddling, going out and catching that mule, saddling and riding, and then going off for a 2, 3, 4 hour ride through the woods and just relaxing. All that hectic world that's out there that this man has gone through, that he does, and then all of a sudden that mule takes him out of that world and gives him some comfort, a whole different perspective, and a way to collect your mind up. And folks, that's what I want you to get an understanding. Here's this. I want you to get this in your mind, that this mule takes you out of the real world and puts you in a world of relaxation, in a world of you and that mule, And that's why I keep telling you, why are you getting in a hurry? Why are you wanting to hurry up and ride? Why not spend the time and get to know that mule and smell it, huh, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
The riding, folks, you've heard me say it, the icing on the cake. Why not get to know your mule? Ain't that phenomenal? You had 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years that he had, okay? And that was a deep love affair, all right? It was. And then he's got some other mules. He's been hurt. He's been bounced around, this sort of thing. But there's something about that mule. So when you get that mule, folks, don't get in a hurry to ride. Spend time on the ground. Go out and pet and scratch on them. They've taken you out of that world. Most of your worlds isn't as hectic as this guy's. I mean, of course, you're not flying and stuff. Not now.
Much, yeah.
But when I first got to know him, but here he is starting a new business. He got a new home, and he's got his hot rods. He bought this one new hot rod, and in his life in Christ and all this stuff. But yet, that mule is the kind of the nucleus to kind of hold all that together.
Yeah.
It is, folks. And the point I want you to get across is, love that mule. Spend that time. An old cowboy buddy of mine up at the Grand Canyon, he told me, he said, Steve, a mule will give his life for you if you just spend time with him. He'll love you. It's amazing, that relationship. A true mule person isn't just that he has a mule. It's not that. It's that he has a relationship where this mule is part of his DNA. Folks, that's what those mules do to you. They do, and it's just like that old cowboy saying, they'll give their life for you if you just treat them right, and it don't take much. But why get in a hurry? Why, take your life and forget about all that's going on, and just take that mule out and do your groundwork. Take your time, pick up the feet. It's an awesome thing to do, And there's nothing wrong with, on a windy day when you would like to ride and all those monsters out there blowing around, nothing wrong with taking a brush and just brushing one. It's the riding isn't always important, So that's kind of the point I want to get across. Having David Pingali here, yes, he's the father of the Ask Tell the Man Coffee. His wife kind of developed that too, and she's a mover and a shaker. Okay, but the point I want to get across to is, folks, if that mule really is part of your life, then you're going to want to spend time with it, even though all heck's breaking loose, and this mule will change your life. They will. Yeah.
Yeah, we hear about that all the time, folks sharing. And one of the fun things that we do on the Facebook page, so if you're not following us on Facebook, you can go check it out. And we do it on Instagram somewhat too, but we share pictures of folks. We ask for you folks to share pictures of their mules and just the stories that folks have about the memories that they've done, the places they've gone together, the bonds that they've formed. It's real and it's meaningful and it's significant. And so it is fun to get to hang out, and it is fun to just enjoy it together. And I want to challenge you, like, go for that. Go for that type of bond. And you know what? The longer it takes, and sometimes the harder it is, the more meaningful it'll be when it eventually comes. The journey truly is, I'm getting a little, philosophical here, but I turned 40 last year, and just turning 40.
Oh my God, 40.
I know. Well, Steve said that I'll be a young man until they put me in the grave. So I guess that puts me in the same bucket as you guys. We're all young men here. But you turn 40 and you just start thinking, like, what have I, what have I done, or what am I doing, and what am I going towards? And I'm like, you know what? That's really not it. It's these moments that I have with the things that are most important to me, and being fully present in those moments. And I'll tell you what, um, I am not a cowboy. I am not a farm guy. Like I grew up in the city, but I'll tell you what, when you get out there in those moments where life slows down and you're surrounded not by cell phone towers, but by trees, you're surrounded not by radio waves, but just the sound of nature. And wherever you're riding, whatever you're doing, all of the sudden it just invites you to be present in the moment. And I think that is where we see Jesus do his most incredible work, is in the moment. And I think that's ultimately where we find some of the greatest joy, is just living fully in that moment and embracing it. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us today, David, and I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story. Steve sent this over here to me. Steve sent this over here, showing you at work right there, doing your thing. What do we got here? Are we roasting right now?
We're roasting there, and it's just about ready to come out of the roaster, I think.
How long has it been in there?
About 15 minutes.
Oh, that's all it takes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a short, small roast, so that's it should come out. Here we go. Here we go. There we are.
Ooh, I'll bet it smells awesome.
Oh,
it does.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the fragrance of mules. You don't get tired of that, and the fragrance of coffee. You don't get tired of that either.
I'll tell you what, the pastor at my church, he was talking about expectation, and he was talking about anticipation. And he says there's different types of anticipation. And when we anticipate what is it to anticipate the return of Christ and what he's doing in our life? And of course, there's the waiting when it comes for, am I going to pass the test, or am I going to get in, or what are those test results going to be, or what was the biopsy? And there's this anxious waiting, but there's this brownies in the oven waiting, right? Where what's coming. The work's been done, it's been put in, and you can't take it out too soon, because if you take it out too soon, you're going to have to go back and remix it again. And you're roasting these beans, and you put them in there, and if you pull them out too soon, you're not going to get the roast that you want. And that's ultimately, I think, what we can be invited into, is there's this waiting, there's this expectation. And when you get into that moment, just live fully in that moment, but enjoy that ride all along the way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Anything else y'all want to say before we're done here?
No, pretty much. I Dave, now, folks, David and I were just talking today about, me and the training of the mules and things like this. And it's pretty cool, but here's the thing, this here interview and the internet, and then of course, Dave is, if it wasn't for this sort of thing, it wouldn't be, this information wouldn't be getting out there, because we touch a lot of countries and things like this, and people are seeing it different ways. I've got belt buckles of being, the top of the top and this sort of thing, but that doesn't mean as much to me as it is you taking your time, you spending time with that mule, building a relationship. You're already a predator; they're a prey animal, so it's already against you. Why get in a hurry to ride? Why get in a hurry to give it some trainer and say, fix the problem? And pardon me. And it comes back to you worse than a problem. And so, I'll spend the time with you. You've heard me say time and time again, call me and I'll help you out. I'll do it. A guy like David Pengali here, he's multi-talented and all kinds of stuff, but it's something about touching that mule and taking you out of reality and putting you in a world that's relaxing and easy to go. And that's what I want to get a point across. And Dave Shrine here, my media guy, my second son, has taken and brought this all into place, and which is really cool, because normally I would have been on the ranch or just writing articles for different things. And this thing here, I mean, it's amazing. How many, 18,000 was it, Dave, on that one program? where it went viral.
Yeah. No, it was like 260,000 people watching. We got another one that was like 700,000 people watched. And so, we're happy to do it, for one. Like, that's why Steve's on the phone. We're happy to do it for one. But the fact that there's that many folks out there, have we reached all the mule people yet? I don't think so.
No. But anyway, Dave, I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate my buddy David Pengali here. We're going to go have a cup of coffee now. And
I'll tell you what, while y'all are still there, you ought to come up with levels of confirmation, right? Get different, like put it out there. Level 1 confirmation, level 2 confirmation. We come up with our own little chart there, and we'll send that to Mr. Pengali, and we'll say, hey, here you go. Here's your levels.
Well, tomorrow morning, I climb on an airplane and we fly into Nashville, and then we fly. Then we drive to Shelbyville. Yeah, and Dave won't be able to come. He's got his coffee shop, newly opened coffee shop, to get open Saturday, and people depend on him for Saturday for that Saturday morning mule coffee.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
absolutely.
Anyway, we'll be back in touch. I'll send you some more videos and stuff, but we appreciate you, buddy.
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad to do it. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. We sure are happy. MuleRanch.com. If you want to find any of I guess we haven't really done it a whole lot this time, but if you want to find any of our resources, and just so you know that the resources themselves, they are free. There's so many resources that you can go find at MuleRanch.com. Of course, you can follow us on any of the Instagram, YouTube, all those places. A matter of fact, if you're on Instagram and YouTube, you might really appreciate following us. We've got daily shorts that are coming out, just small, 10 to 60-second clips of different programs we've done, different training Steve's done. You'll find that. Of course, if you have any questions, you can send them in, support@MuleRanch.com, or you can reach out to Steve at MuleRanch.com. But that's it for us now. God bless. Take care, everyone. Shelbyville, if you're not there for this year, get there for next year. Shelbyville for the American Mule and Bluegrass Festival. Look it up. God bless, everyone. Bye-bye.